Bills players say Odell Beckham Jr. is a prima donna for throwing punches on Sunday. Mark Brunell, I'm Darren Haynes. Let's start off first with a quote from one of the Bills players, their linebacker Preston Brown. He says, "That's what he does. He's the golden boy of the league. He's on the cover of Madden. Sometimes you get away with stuff like that." So, Mark, do you think he has a sense of entitlement here?
I don't know about a sense of entitlement, but the quote is pretty accurate. He is the golden boy of the league, and sometimes you do get away with it, at least on the field. And that's just part of the game. Those referees, the officials, they don't see everything. They don't see all of the punches, maybe even all of the cheap shots. But you know who does see it? The NFL office.
The eye in the sky.
The eye in the sky, and it does not lie. They get that tape, and they're looking around. They're trying to find guys that are playing outside the rules, that are not being fair, that are trying to, throw a punch or get some kind of revenge. That's what they do. And listen, there's no place for it in the game. And I've heard coaches say, listen, make your statement with your shoulder pads, with how you play. Don't run your mouth. If you've got a problem with somebody, go outplay him, go block him, go tackle him, but do everything within the framework of the rules of the NFL. Play fair. That's very important.
You talk about coaches. Let's just say you're Eli Manning, and you're on the field, and you see that happen. As a former quarterback,
sure.
what would you tell Odell Beckham Jr.?
You know what? It's everybody plays with a different level of emotion. Some guys are real fiery, real intense, and sometimes those emotions can go too far, especially with young players. If I'm Eli Manning, I go to Odell and say, listen, I understand the way you play. I respect it. I love the passion and the emotion. That's great. But if it's not kept in check, you could hurt the team, whether it's a penalty, whether you're getting kicked out of the game, maybe even a suspension. And so while a lot of guys play with those kind of chips on their shoulder, or they play with all kind of that fire and emotion, sometimes it could hurt a football team in a critical situation, and it could cost you a game. If I'm Eli Manning or I'm Tom Coughlin, it needs to be addressed, especially taking swings at people. There's no place for it in the game. How
much do you think something like that happens in the NFL?
Well, you see a lot of guys playing a little bit outside of the rules after the whistle. A late hit happens all the time, a cheap shot, and sometimes it's interesting. You see guys will take a swing, and you think, gosh, you know better, but it happens year in and year out, game in and game out. Guys just take swings thinking they're not going to get caught, and more times than not, they do get caught, and it hurts the team.
That's Mark Brunell on Odell Beckham. The Bills call him a prima donna, but we can agree he's still young and also learning.